All right, welcome to our latest Swampcast. Pat Dooley and Kevin Brockway of the Gainesville Sun. We're here on the floor at the New Orleans Arena where Florida will face Butler tomorrow after the thrilling win over Denver Fredette and BYU last night. And tomorrow afternoon, 4:30. I know I tweeted 3:30. I forgot we were in Central Time. It's a 4:30 game, obviously. And it'll be interesting because I think these teams are very much alike, Kevin.
Yeah, and certainly Butler's physicality is a concern. Billy Donovan mentioned they're the most physical team in the country. I think, Shelwyn Mack, he's a guard. He's built like a linebacker.
Yeah,
kind of similar
is.
to Bruce Ellington, and it's going to be a different matchup for Kenny Boynton in terms of defending him. And then Matt Howard inside is a beast, a big, tough, physical guy who also can go out, step out, and shoot three-pointers, kind of like a Trey Tompkins type. So Alex Tyus is going to have to be on guard defensively. I think you'll also, again, see Patrick Young off the bench, Eric Murphy,
Right.
a combination of guys to try to stop him.
It's a team that's won 8 NCAA games in the last 2 years. They're not Cinderella, as both of us have alluded to in our copy. They're a really good program. And it's kind of funny because they used the 2000 loss on the Mike Miller shot as kind of a, hey, we can play with these guys. This team played for the national championship, and we should have beaten them. And the 2007 game where they hung with one of the great teams of all time till there was, I think it was 3 minutes left. It was like a 2-possession game. They used those as springboards to kind of believe in what they were doing.
Yeah, and then obviously, Gordon Hayward, the last-second shot against Duke last year in the NCAA Finals. They lose Hayward, but, you're still talking about a pretty experienced team. You're talking about a team with, a lot of the nucleus back with Mack, with, they're not going to be rattled in these situations with Howard and 3 starters back. It's going to be, it's not going to be necessarily a game where they're going to be phased or they haven't seen anything. And I think it's a referendum in general in college basketball that, hey, you can build an experienced team. It doesn't have to be all one-and-dones, that sometimes when you have guys play together and play cohesive, you can get to an Elite 8 level.
Yeah, and also it helps when they don't leave. That's a big part of it. And losing Hayward was a blow to them, but they've bounced right back from it. They struggled. These teams are so much alike. They win close games. They both went through a stretch where you wondered if you were going to make the tournament, let alone be this far. Their coaches are very good friends. Billy, of course, welcoming Brad Stevens down to their clinic 3 of the last 4 years. And then when Brad Stevens was having some trouble with his team, he called Billy to talk about expectations.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of tells you a little bit about the coaching ability of these two guys, bouncing things off each other, keeping their teams together through, weathering some of the storms throughout the course of the season and, having them grow and improve. And you can kind of see in the Horizon League and the tournament final, them just kind of really coming together and gelling together. And then obviously, the big upset against Pittsburgh. They got a little break on some of the foul calls. Of course, Mack did foul him too, so maybe it evened out a little bit. But they got to New Orleans and they did what they had to do to get to this point.
Yeah, amazing to think of that game and think here they are. They could be in the Final Four, but of course it's amazing to think that Florida could be back in another Final Four. I don't think we even have to cover the game because it says right up there 67-50. Florida won. All right. So I guess we can go home now.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting tomorrow. I expect a physical game. I expect a rough game. Don't expect a high-scoring game because that's just the way Butler plays. They play tough defense. And for Florida, they're going to have to make some threes, to be honest with you. You don't want to abandon the inside, but I think you're going to need Walker and Boynton to both shoot well.
I think the one thing, and here's the value of the non-conference schedule, that Florida's had this season, is that at least they've been exposed to this kind of games. Right. I look back to Florida State, that 55-51 game in Tallahassee. That could be the similar kind of game where, it's kind of like a knock-em-out, drag-em-out fight. But, Patrick Young could play a huge factor off the bench in that game if you're talking about a physical game.
Well, it'll be interesting. We'll find out. The next time we come to you, we'll know whether Florida's in the Final Four or whether their season's over. Until then, Pat Dooley, Kevin Brockway, the Gainesville Sun saying so long from New Orleans, Louisiana.